Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Wendy's Cookie Crochet Tutorial. In this video, I'm going to show you how to sew on buttons to your crochet work. So I've got these really beautiful little buttons here that I will be sewing onto this coat that I made. So I'm going to show you how to get it lined up perfectly so you don't have any problem sewing your stuff on. So what you're going to need is, of course, you're going to need buttons. So I have 8 holes here, so I've got 8 buttons. You're going to need a needle and thread. And I know this is hard to see because it's just normal thread. So you're going to need needle and thread, and you're also going to need some safety pins. So I've got my safety pins here, and I usually use disappearing ink. So I've got my little marker here that is disappearing ink, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up first. So I'm taking my seams, and this is the part that you have to be really particular about. So I'm going to take my seams and I'm going to line this up to where it should be. So obviously where you have your buttonholes should be on the outside. Oh, and by the way, if you want to know what this mashup is, this mashup is the burlap and chap hood from the Twisted Hatter, and it is the Surge Dream Coat from Crochet Verse. So I just took both of those and mashed them up and made them into one creation. And this is a custom order for a client that I am working on. So I'm just going to put some safety pins so this is lined up exactly the way I need it to be, so that way the buttons will be lined up the way I need them to be. So here I'm just going to put several safety pins in. Let's see here. That looks correct right here. And this may seem like an extra step, but in reality, it's really great to do so everything lines up perfectly. So you want the skirt and everything just to line up great. And you don't want everything not to fit correctly. And then again, I'm going to put one more at the bottom here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my invisible ink, and honestly I don't think you would have to use invisible ink. I just like to use it just in case. It's going to, the button's going to cover up the mark that you make. So I like to make a little mark exactly where my button needs to go. So I'll be making 8 of these. And I try not to get it, it's invisible ink, so it'll fade after a little bit, so the disappearing ink will fade. It takes a little bit of time, maybe 24 hours for it to fade, but it will fade. And let's see here, right here. Right here. And one more right up here. Alright, so now that I've got each one marked, I try to mark it towards the middle. So now that I've got each one marked, I can go ahead, take my safety pins out. I know, again, this sounds like it's just an extra step, but I really think it's important to make these line up correctly. Take my safety pins out, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my buttons and start sewing them on. So here I can see where I made my little mark at, and so I'm going to go from the back here. I'm just going to go from the back, make sure that that little mark is in the middle pretty much, and I'm going to put on one of these right here, so one of the buttons. And I'm just going to put it in the middle, and when I pull this through, I'm not going to pull it all the way through. I'm going to leave some so I can tie it later. So I usually tie and glue all of these. So I'm leaving a nice little string here. I know it's very hard to see. I apologize for that. But this is me working on the real piece for my client. So I'm just going to pull that, and then I'm going to make an X and just go, there's 4 holes in these buttons, so I'm just going to make an X and go back and forth here several times because I want this to be really secure. Again, when I make this knot after I do all of them, I'm going to be gluing it also, so I'm 100% sure it does not come undone. That's one of my biggest fears, is some of the work that I've done if it comes undone. So I really, really, really like to make sure I have everything secure. And so now I'm just going to repeat this with all the buttons. And I'll probably speed the video up for the rest, but I do like each time, that's twice gone through. So I'm going to go through 4 or 5 times here with each button, just so I make sure this is really, really secure. Again, it really makes me nervous. What if a button comes off? And that does happen sometimes, but it really makes me nervous. So I just don't want that to happen. Let me go in a little bit higher here. That should be a little higher there. All right, there. So that's 3 each time. And I'll speed the video up for the rest of the buttons, but for this one I want you to see how I do it. That is 4 each time. So let's do 1 more each time. This is feeling extremely secure now, which is what I'm wanting. Let's go in on this side, right there. So, all right, now I'm going to grab my scissors and cut this. Cut the string. My scissors down there, and I'm going to tie it. So I'm going to tie it several times, and then again, after I'm done, I'm going to take my fabric glue and I'm just going to glue it also because it gives me anxiety. So let's see here. Let's tie it. That's 2. One more time. That's 3. Alright, so now I'm going to move on to the next one. I'm just going to repeat that process for every single one of them. And it may be a little bit hard to see. So, like the next one's supposed to go right here. That's a little tiny bit hard to see, but that's okay. So, you are supposed to go right here. Let's put you right there in the middle. Okay, now let's continue on. I'm halfway done. Alright, now I've got to find the mark on this one. And this one mark may have already faded. I am not seeing it at all. So since I'm not seeing the mark on that one, I'm going to go ahead and button these up. That way I can tell exactly where it should be going. Alright, so let's see, where should you be going? You should go about here. Okay. Grab my needle and thread, and I'm just going to do what I've been doing here. Alright guys, that's it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to unbutton this, cut off all these little stragglers, and then I'm going to put a little bit of fabric glue back there so I know that the ends stay in really well. So here's my fabric glue. I'll try to leave links to all of this in the description below. I'll try to remember to leave links to all of this in the description below. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my throat. I'm having trouble clearing it. But anyway, excuse me, gosh. So I have the bamboo, these are bamboo buttons. I'll try to leave the link to that in my description also. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to unbutton this. I'm going to clip these off. And then I'm going to put a little bit of the fabric glue on the back. That way I know that the knots won't come undone. And that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. And I hope you learned something. If you did, please subscribe to my channel, push the like button, and happy hooking, everybody.